When was the last time they even contacted us? A decade ago? They won't defend us. We need to do it ourselves.
Easy. Violence is the last refuge.
Of the incompetent, I know. That's no man's doctrine.
It's an observation I made when I was younger than you.
Would Harry's plan have assumed we'd wait for help, or...
Hey guys, Pete here. Today I have a book to show changes video for episodes 3 and 4 of Foundation. I put this off last week because I thought there might be some movement on the vault, and that didn't happen, but things are pretty set up on Terminus now, so I think it's the right time to talk about some of the big changes there. As far as spoilers, I'm going to be talking about the books, but I'm going to be talking about the stuff that's happened up until this point in the story. I won't be giving away any major plot points that might ruin the series for you. Although this week I'm going to talk about a little bit of what I think they're doing, and that's going to pull some stuff that hasn't been revealed in the show from the prequels. So if you haven't read those, you might not want to watch the end of the video, and I'll give you a second spoiler warning so you can bail out there. And with all that out of the way, let's get into it. In my last video, I talked about the whole genetic dynasty. The idea of clone emperors is all made up for the show. So everything on that side of the story is a change. The one aspect of that that's pulled from the books is Ado Demerzel, who's in the story earlier and not in this period of time that we're watching. I already went over that in the last video, so I won't do it again, but I just wanted to say that everything that goes along with this new Cleon the 14th, the one that's played as a teenager, that's all a mystery to people who read the books as well. One thing that's interesting about that I didn't even see myself, someone pointed this out in one of the comments. This new character, Shadow Master Obrecht, who the young Cleon interacts with about Azura. He was in the first episode. We saw Brother Day order him to execute that guy that was working on the painting. And if you look at him there 35 years ago, and then again in episode 4, he doesn't look like he aged a day. So there may be something going on with him there, and that might tie into some of the ideas for the bigger story that haven't been revealed yet. At the beginning of the story, the Encyclopedists, which is basically what we're seeing on Terminus in the show, there are two important things happening. Anacreon's leader has declared themselves a king, and the 50th anniversary of arriving on Terminus is coming up, which means the vault will open. The people there don't know what that means exactly, but there's what's called a radium clock counting down, and they know when to watch for it to happen, so this is something that they're anticipating. The Starbridge attack and Cleon's decision to bombard Anacreon was invented for the show. In the books, they're all right, and they're starting to act independently from the Empire. They come to Terminus diplomatically, but they kind of do the whole, nice planet you got here, sure would be a shame if something happened to it thing when they get there. The Encyclopedists only care about working on the encyclopedia, so that leaves the first mayor, Salvor Hardin, to figure out how to deal with them. While they're talking, he realizes that they don't have atomic power anymore, so he works that Terminus still does as a subtle threat into the conversation to buy them more time. So as you can see, all of that is turned around in the show, with Anacreon being desperate on a dying planet, and we have no idea how that's going to play out, so we'll come back to that in a future video. I mentioned the vault, and this is one of the major changes. When Isaac Asimov went back to write the prequel books, he mentioned in the epilogue of the last one that Harry Seldon sent Gail Dornick to Terminus to set up the vault after they were already there. The big change on the show is that the vault is on the planet when they arrive, making it mysterious, and it hovers above the surface, emitting a null field that keeps everyone but Salvor from approaching it. In the books, it's just basically a chamber. Everyone knows that Gail Dornick came there and installed it, and that something's going to happen on the 50th anniversary. The show moved things up a bit to 35 years after they got there, but you have to guess that it was still placed there by Harry somehow, and the opening is still part of where the show's heading. Salvor is the warden instead of the mayor, and the whole idea of her connection with it and being special seems like they're blending a couple of characters together. That's what I'll talk about at the end in the spoilers section, but here I'll just say that the idea of some people being different or special in Foundation isn't as antithetical as some people seem to think. That doesn't mean it's not jarring to see Salvor portrayed as more of a warrior though. I mentioned in my last recap that it was a WTF moment when she discredited the saying that violence is the last refuge of the incompetent. That's the phrase the character is known for, and they relied more on their wit than anything else. It's still a bit too early to tell if they're just setting up a twist or if it's about the other part of the character they've added to their version of Salvor, though. For that, we'll just have to wait and see. I also mentioned that I wish that they would have developed the Encyclopedists a bit more, mostly because there is a nice tension with the way that they think and what they're trying to do, and what Salvor needs to figure out in order to get through the crisis. In the show, they changed things quite a bit by the Encyclopedists knowing what Harry was predicting. In the books, they knew he set up the Foundation, that they were there to collect this knowledge, but not really about how the Empire was falling and how they were going to be the ones who were going to bring it back after the fall. That's only revealed to them over time. But when I thought about this some more, I guess the Encyclopedists and what they do reflects the bigger picture of why the Empire is failing. And in the show, they just decided to show us the fall through the genetic dynasty. It's a different way to get there, but they could still arrive in the same place. So those are the big things. Terminus is more isolated. It's a little earlier in their development. Anacreon's coming there with different motivations, which haven't been revealed yet. The Encyclopedists are more of a mixed bag. They still rely on the idea of the Empire, which is the same, but they know more about Harry's predictions. They aren't waiting for the vault to open, but they are expecting that Harry factored in everything, so there's no need to worry. They still have tension with Salvor, but it's for different reasons. I don't care much about them removing the idea of the decline of atomic power from the periphery. It wasn't the strongest idea in the series, but I do wonder how things will change down the road as a result. So we'll see where it goes from here. Now I'm going to talk about what I think's going on with Gale and Salvor, and this is the part where I'm going to talk about book spoilers that might spoil things for you if you haven't read them all. Please like and subscribe on your way out because this is your chance to leave. By the end of the second episode, it seemed pretty clear that Gale had mentalic powers, at least the show's version of what those will turn out to be. They made the character female, put her in a relationship with Rach, and that produced a zygote that was put in storage before she left in the escape pod. When you think of mentalics, you think of the Second Foundation, which hasn't been mentioned at all on the show yet. And when you think of Rach's child, you think Wanda Selden, the key mentalic in the Second Foundation's creation. When you combine that with Salvor seeing visions of Rach coming from the vault, it seems pretty likely that she's their kid, and that her and Gale are going to be the genesis of the Second Foundation. There's plenty that isn't clear about what Harry knew or how he was involved, and that's why it's kind of frustrating that they dropped that part of the story for 2 episodes. There's a lot of questions after that and how things will play out. It doesn't really work if Salvor stays on Terminus, and who actually knows which time period Gale will wake up in. There's also the outside possibility that Harry wasn't involved at all. In the show, Gale did say the math was incomplete, so maybe they're setting it up that she wakes up and realizes what's missing is the Second Foundation. It could go in a lot of different ways. But at least in broad strokes, that seems to be the direction they're headed with them being special. I'm curious to see how that turns out, and I think that's a good place to leave things. Let me know in the comments what you think. Just if you're going to be talking about book spoilers, make sure you mark them. Please like this video if you enjoyed it. Please subscribe to my channel if you haven't already. And thanks for watching. I'll talk to you soon.